Okay, y'all. So you need one. All successful startups, especially those in the tech and the business sectors that are really pushing innovation, they have one thing in common, and you need one as well. You need to nail down your MVP, your minimum viable product. They built on it, they banked on it, and they got it out there in the marketplace. You need to do the same. Now, in today's episode, we will make one for your business, or at least go over what it takes to make one, because it's going to take you some time. But we're going to lay down the foundation of what it would take to get your idea from just a dream to an idea that actually becomes something tangible, something in the marketplace, something people can use, can test, can actually give you feedback to improve upon what you want your business to be all about. In today's episode, we're going to go over minimum viable product on a budget for your business. Let's get it. Okay, now, so people always want to coin a phrase to stand out and showcase that they have seen things from such a different or unique perspective that need to have something either trademarked or to be known for when it comes to a title or a term. You know, we hear terms like solopreneur or techpreneur, mompreneur is another one. So you hear different preneurs and we're all still just entrepreneurs, but, to identify what makes you unique in your area. And there's nothing wrong with that. But one of the things that stood out to me in a recent article I was reviewing, I always pulled something, either it's a question from one of our core spaces or it's an article on Medium. And it was about the changing landscape and how the MVP is kind of going away. And I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, that's an interesting perspective because a lot of people still don't even have an MVP, or a lot of people don't work off of an MVP model. And although we are seeing things change in the startup VC world quite a bit, there's a really important aspect to developing an MVP that holds a lot of people back if they don't do one, right? Especially when it comes to creative entrepreneurs, right? Or createpreneurs, if we want to make up our own term for it. So what I felt would be good is that if the world is changing, or at least the world of VC and startup is changing, where they're kind of getting away from the MVP concept in some respects, let's make sure we focus on the positive outcomes of developing an MVP and to ensure that the world doesn't pass a lot of us by out here, right? Maybe you're not working with a VC. Maybe you've never worked with a product manager. Maybe you've never worked with, design teams that have worked with, major startups. Let's get the concept of MVP understood to you guys and to myself. Make sure we're all on the same page because, hey, we're all learning and we're all growing together. Okay. So let's make sure we all take what we can from the positive aspects, applying to our businesses, applying to our products, applying to our services that can help us and help us develop and grow. So what we're going to be going through is we're going to be going through exactly what is the minimum viable product and why it was important initially and why it's important still, and what positive outcomes can come from it. Some steps that you could take to make your own MVPs. And of course, we want to make sure we call out the alternatives. As I mentioned, that there's some other concepts that are popping up here and there. What are those concepts out there? And are those better applied for your businesses potentially, or your potential business in the future? Because the concept, once again, is to get something out there in the marketplace as soon as possible with the key components that will work best for you and your team to get out there, test, and get the feedback from the target audience. And we brought that term up so many times, you can't bring it up enough. Target audience is the key and is the importance. And this is making this MVP. We will know who that target audience is, and are we actually building something that solves problems for them that they actually want to purchase, they actually want to use. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about what is an MVP a little bit more in depth. And let's start off with, well, not only just what is an MVP, but here's some examples. And this is probably the area you have seen and been impacted the most by, or at least you've used. Maybe it hasn't changed the way you do business. And maybe it hasn't changed the way, you run your life or anything like that. But you've at least seen this. And you're probably extremely, in tune with what an MVP is. You just don't know it as the minimum viable product. So a great example, and let's just say one of the first examples that I ever heard of when it came to a company applying and developing an MVP was Dropbox. Now, when Dropbox first started, and it literally, their strategy, their focal point was explainer videos, or specifically one key explainer video. Created a simple video, and I brought this up before. It's funny how I brought this up before about things that people should have on their websites for their products and services. Anyway, all Dropbox did was create simple videos demonstrating the core concept of what Dropbox was. Now, we're talking. Remember, this is the time when cloud computing and specifically cloud storage. Man, I mean, I don't know if y'all remember Carbonite, right? And I mean, having companies like, let's see, there was, of course, Box. I mean, it was still like, I don't know. I have my flash drive. I'm good, right? I have my SD cards. I'm good. And don't get me started on floppy disk and zip disk, right? So remember, you're trying to convey to an audience that has a very set already processes in place to trust you, a business that they've never heard of, on technology that may have been around for a little while, and technology that, remember, you're speaking to people who are futurists, who are technologists, but at the same point, that's not going to be your target audience entirely, right? Dropbox is used by small businesses, it's used by creatives, people who are not as aligned and in tune with what's going on in the tech world. So a demonstration, a very simple video of saying, hey, this is what we have. This is how you sync your files across devices. And specifically, this is how you can access them and protect them. The video showcased the product's functionality without even a prototype in place. Now think about that. That means there was no way for someone to say, okay, here's 100 files. I want to upload them and see how it works. The video just demonstrated this is what it's going to do, how it's going to do it. And once again, focusing on that target audience, the team at Dropbox, led by its founder, Drew Houston, the key was talk to the right people who would become early adopters. And that's the key. Tech communities, the people who would get this, people who would understand this, can help validate how it works, can help validate and champion how it works. I'm going to use a term here and there, but we're going to get a little more in depth later on. Use a term here and there called the customer journey. So right off the bat, he's preparing people to become potential brand advocates and business advocates and product advocates. And why this worked? The video validated the idea. It gave you something to look at. It gave you something tangible to say, okay, this at least how it would work, how it will work, not necessarily how it works, how it will work, where it works, who it works for, what are the steps. Seeing is believing. Before people even fully invested in the full development of the business. That's an MVP. It's getting something out there. It's getting something in someone's hands and someone visually to understand the concept. So think about this. And that's why I say, man, always with these episodes, it's about takeaways immediately. What is that business idea you have? What is that business plan you have? What is that business or service or product that you have? And you're going here flapping your gums to people, which is great. Cool. You have it off the top of your dome. Get it on paper. Get it into a PowerPoint presentation. Get it into a mock-up in Figma, which is one of the best, prototyping and user journey softwares out there. Easy to use and some great trainings on it. Remember, this is what the MVP is all about. This is what it's truly all about. Another good example would be Airbnb. Now, this example, I think this is, let's keep it a bean. The hustlers out there. And I mean the real hustlers. I'm not talking about anybody doing anything nefarious. I'm talking about the hustlers of people who make a lot out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? You give me 25, I'll make 100. We know how to flip it. We know how to go. And it's what you got to be about, especially in this startup life, small business life. Doesn't matter. I hate when people separate startups and small businesses. I understand why. It's a lot of other aspects. But at the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. Working with what we got to get what we want to get. I'll say it again. We're all in the same boat. We are working with what we got to get what we want to get. Airbnb is a great example of the hustler mentality, especially the hustler mentality when it comes to an MVP. You know what they did? Made a basic website. Remember, I keep talking about a website and the importance of it? See, what they started off with was a very simple website that allowed the founders, the actual founders of Airbnb, this is the crazy part, to rent out their own apartments. They were renting out their own stuff. They were listing on Craigslist. They got real scrappy with things. But of course, once again, I talk about the ownership of things, talk about the investing of yourself. They got their website up there. And they say, well, if people are going to trust us as a business, we need a website. Well, we need a website that showcases what we do. And people can do it. Now, the funny part about this is at, once again, at the time period we're talking about, there weren't a bunch of plugins for renting out your apartments. There wasn't a bunch of booking plugins like there are now, right? Where a lot of that stuff is readily available. I brought up open source technology in the past. We can do a whole episode about that if everybody wants to see it. Let me know if you ever want to see an episode about the different open source products and platforms that are out there, similar to WordPress, because there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you can start building with. You don't have to be a computer scientist. You don't have to be a programmer. You can learn as you go and grow. Let me know if you want to see an episode about that. But more importantly, right now, when it comes to the MVP, is that they used photos of their space, offered basic booking system, which they developed, right? This helped them test it. They could test it. They could see how it would work. They could see the ins and outs. They can identify all the problems, at least from that smaller scope. They validated their concept and people would do it. Here's the crazy part, because of what the area that they were in. I always say the crazy part. Because of the area they were in. They were in San Francisco and they did it. They did it for visitors coming at the height of that time period during a conference, which was great because, of course, San Francisco, busy city, well-populated city. Not that big of a city. And at least San Francisco proper, it's not that big of a city, really, if you think about it. And the prices of hotels are crazy. So they did it at a prime time, focusing on a target audience that would need this the most. That was their MVP, a simple website to just showcase this is the concept and this is what we can do to get it out there. See, when small businesses start thinking with this concept, as we're walking through these, and we give you one more example, how would you apply this? What's that concept, that simple hey, I want to start a coffee shop. Well, yeah, okay, I don't have the money to rent out an entire space. Maybe I can do, I don't know, maybe I can do traveling coffee. Where I drop it off, I bag it up, sell out of my house. See, the thing is, a lot of times small businesses and entrepreneurs, you are utilizing the MVP, but you're not taking some of the principles, which we'll go over. You're not coming up with the principles first, right? So you don't know where to test and to measure if it's working or not. You're just going by the seat of your pants, which is understandable because that's how we roll. Once again, it's the hustle life, right? It's the entrepreneurial life. But if we put a little bit of science to it, if you will, if we put a little bit of marketing to it, if you will, then we'll get a lot farther. Going back real quick before I go to the next one, think about that for a second. Random website. This is not Expedia. This is not Priceline. This isn't going to Hyatt. This isn't going to Hilton. Random website saying, hey, you can rent out my apartment during a conference, and I won't be there. I can make sure you have what you need. Just pay on this website. Airbnb. Can you imagine seeing this thing 15 years ago? Can you really think about that for a second, right? Think about how common that is now. But yet, it's not that unique of an idea. And I'm going to go to that in a second, but I just want you to hang on to something like that, right? Hang on to that. That it's not necessarily that crazy. It is a little crazy when you first think about it. Because you think about, well, yeah, I'll just go to the hotel website or something like that. But now I'm about to save $300 to $500 potentially. Remember, San Francisco during a conference. Height of the time of a bunch of travelers. Oh, them prices are going to be crazy. If you can find a space. The final one. Well, literally largest company on earth, if not the second largest company. They go back and forth sometimes, at least by its market capacity. Amazon, simply an online bookstore. That was the MVP. Remember, for those who don't know, and maybe if you're like me, when I worked at a bookstore, when Amazon had already been around for some years, but I remember the impact it was making. Just a bookstore. Good old Bezos himself launched Amazon as an online bookstore, focusing on just simply selling books because it was easy to source, it was easy to store, and it was easy to ship. That wasn't the ultimate goal of Amazon, even from that point. He mentions that in multiple interviews. That was not his sole focus. Wasn't, this is going to say online bookstore forever. The key was, let's go with something that's fast, that's simple. We can move it out there. Now, keep in mind also, I'm not going to give you that. I ain't going to give you the BS. I ain't on that stuff. I give you the reality of it. This was not Jeff Bezos' first venture. Jeff Bezos was not, working a full-time 9 to 5 job, at a fast food restaurant, pooling all his money together. He had come from being a CEO of a tech startup that failed, of a .com that had failed, right? But it had some success at one point. He had been a part of other ventures. So it's not like he was a complete novice of it, which actually makes sense of why this one worked out, because he had learned from other failures, which is the key point of life in general. You don't look at him as a failure. Look at it as an obstacle. Look at it as a lesson. Look at it as a course. I met somebody years ago who said, yeah, I don't look at failures as failures or as even obstacles or anything. He said, I look at it as a course. I was like, that's a real interesting. I've heard of lessons, but never as a course. He said, yeah, it's a course. You have to go through the course, right? You get initiated, you have to study once. Sometimes you pass an exam. Sometimes you don't pass an exam. Sometimes you get great marks. Sometimes you get bad marks. And then you get a final evaluation and you complete the course. And you complete the course for failing it. You complete the course by passing it and moving on to the next one. But if you look at life in courses, it brings all the lessons together. That's a great way Bezos could have looked at it. And I'm not sure if he did. I'm not putting the words in his mouth, but I'm saying that is a great way to look at it, because he had gone through, okay, one startup didn't work out. One venture didn't work out. One .com didn't work out. And taking those lessons. And keep in mind what I said. He found the product that he could source the easiest, store the easiest, ship the easiest, minimum. So let's say you want to build this great big business where, I don't know, maybe you're in trucking. Okay. And you want to do where you store the trucks. People can, store them overnight. It works as a distribution center. Maybe even do repairs. What's the minimum? Well, the minimum is, let me find a place for people just to park their truck overnight. Truckers do this. I know a couple of truckers. I know one gentleman who runs his own trucking business, and all these hours driving, they need places, but they need strategic places where they can park, where they can store. So what if the minimum is, okay, I got a piece of land, or I can find a piece of land, I can put a little investment into it, or I can find some partners to help me out. Maybe even I could take a bank loan, right? Depending upon what your situation is. But that would be at the minimum, right? Although maybe you're at that stage where you're thinking, okay, I want to extend the business. Maybe you get a plot of land that's right next to your mechanic shop, or you find a lot that you can rent out, that you can lease. The idea here is that what is the most, not simplistic, but what's the minimum? What's the one that's going to take the minimum investment, minimum time, away from my current operation? That's if you already have something going. On the other hand, it is, what can I develop to get out the door, to get into the hands of the customer so I can see what's working? Great idea from Amazon's standpoint. And it makes sense why, although they've had their lumps here, they've had their lumps there, from a business model standpoint. Strictly. And that's all we're going on. We're not going on a bunch of other stuff, from management and operations, dealing with employees or whatnot, because we all know what's going on. But from a business model standpoint, at least, this made sense, and it worked out to where they grew, and they continuously grow. Surprisingly, even though it took them years to even be profitable, but they were able to maintain, and not just maintain, they were able to secure consistent investment, because not only the vision was there, but it was actually being applied and growing, kind of taking the same approach. What can we get done in the time frame to get it out to the market, see if it works, and if it works, we can build on it. That is the MVP. Okay, that is the understanding of the MVP. Minimum. What can I break it down to a fraction? What can I get out into the hands of the people? They can see if this is something they were willing to invest in. Yes, it's still going to take you time. It's still going to take you money. It's not that it's free, but it's at least taking it to a point where you're not breaking yourself to get it out the door, right? Or worse yet, because if you put all your chips in one basket, I'm not knocking you on that. Sometimes that has to be the way it's done. In fact, we've seen plenty of times that that's been come out successful on the other end. Really what this is also looking at is that you're not waiting. Because, hey, you got a YouTube channel, or no, I shouldn't say you got the YouTube channel. You want the YouTube channel. I got to wait till I have the $15,000 camera. I got to wait till I have the $150 mic. I've got to wait till I have all the right lighting. I've got to wait till I have all this and all that. No. I have to wait till I have a certification in Premiere Pro. No. I have to wait till I have the best and top-notch laptop. No. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're trying to convey a very specific message, or, share a level of insights and level of knowledge and analysis, maybe you do have to, acquire a few things in time, but you're still waiting. What can you get done right now? Are you going to wait till you have the PhD to start making video essays? Or are you going to do like three of my all-time favorite video essayists? One, if I'm not mistaken, she's still in school. Two, yes, they are accomplished. They've graduated, they have their PhD and everything. But at the same time, they were working full-time jobs. They were in school in some points. They were pursuing a second or a third credential. They were losing jobs while they were making videos. And you can even see the progress over time with all three of these guys. If you ever check out video essayists, check out these three. They're awesome, fantastic on their insights on different topics. I just had to throw a little sugar in there because they're my favorites. So what can you get done? What can you start with right now? When we come back, we're going to go over making your MVP. All right, now, y'all, making your MVP, the minimum viable product. Here's the foundation. So first off, let's identify the core problem and the solution. I think I've mentioned this in a few other episodes, especially when we talked about digital products. I know for sure. I'm going to come back to it. I don't want to call it out because I want to sound like a broken record, but it's very important to understand this. A lot of people mess up when it comes to their businesses. They create a solution before knowing the problem. And this is actually the corner we put ourselves in as entrepreneurs a lot of times. Oh my God, I have this great idea. The first thing you need to think of, or the first thing you need to come back to is, oh my God, does anybody actually need that? Right? Because so many times, I'm not going to go there. I'll change this up. I come at it from this angle, right? Have we found have we found anything to replace the wheel? Sounds really weird, right? Have we found anything to replace the wheel? No. Nothing. The wheel has been around and not forever, but when the wheel was discovered or invented, if you will, people were like, oh, this solves so many problems. It's been improved upon plenty of times. Steel, iron, rubber, but it's still the wheel. And if you hold on to that for a moment, that thought, that the concept is, do I need to come up with something that's super innovative and totally creative and out of the box and no one ever thought of? I'm going to take an approach like I'm going to find a solution for a problem that doesn't even exist yet. Okay, so that means you're going to have to do a lot of convincing. Or am I going to say, hey, this works. What's another way to use it? What's another way it can help solve a problem that's already there? Find a problem that's already there. Find a product or a service that's already there and improve upon it. That's all we're doing. So I know some of y'all thinking right now, well, what about social media? We didn't have social media 60 years ago. Yeah, we did. We actually have had all these things. Everything. Now, electric vehicle? No, we didn't have it. But we know we have vehicles. Now we have electric vehicles. But we still have cars. We still have trucks. They're just electric. And they haven't even fully replaced the cars that we already have. Okay. But social media, you had social groups, didn't you? We still have social groups. We have a ton of social groups that are offline. In fact, I would argue the only reason why we have social media at the level we do is because those social groups that were already there face to face, in person, have just come over into the digital world. So that's the reason why it grew. That's the reason why it's sustained, because they were saying, hey, this is an easier way for us to stay connected. You hear people use terms like find your tribe, find your group, find like-minded people. They're always there. It's just now you can get to a bigger pool of people and it's easier to get to them. That's the only difference. Every tool that social media brings out is a tool that probably already exists somewhere else. And I seriously mean that. Literally, another platform had that tool or had that feature, and no one was using that platform. Either they were acquired. You could look at the initial acquisitions of platforms like Google, Facebook, Microsoft. Look at how many things they integrated, companies that they absorbed. Because it's like, oh yeah, that's a great feature. Instead of us having to develop it from scratch, we're just going to purchase it from you, or we're just going to purchase your company because no one's over there. No one's on that platform, or not enough people are on that platform and absorbing, because there were problems already being addressed, and that's how they grew. So instead of wrecking your brain and spending money you don't have yet, what is a problem that's already there? What is a solution that could probably address that problem, but no one's connected those dots? How can you get that done? For example, if you're building a digital tool, don't start with all the, basically, like, as I say, like the bells and whistles, stuff like that. Hone the most important features first that delivers the value. On the physical aspect, focus on the most basic version of your product that the people can start using today immediately to try to solve their problems. All right, get rid of all the fluff. Focus on the problem and the solution. What is a tool right now that can solve an additional problem that people aren't using it for? How can you make it a unique offer from your angle? Which goes into the next, understanding that target audience. You've identified their problem. Now you need to really understand, how did they get to that problem? Because if we pull back and we go to some layers of the issues, we can find so many more opportunities to connect with an audience. And when I say connect, I mean listening, I mean understanding, and really getting that feedback going, because that's what you want. Are they tech savvy people? Are they DIY people? Do it yourself. Are they single parents that have to do so much? So they need something that makes more time, when we know it's not going to make more time. It's going to help them make their time more efficient. Understanding this will really help you to define, okay, this is what they need at a minimum level, and this is what I can get them to aspire to. And we all know about that aspiration. When you get that aspiration going, they're like, oh, I can do this in the future. I'll be able to spend more time with my kids, or I'll be able to make more money, or I'll be able to save more money. I'm gonna touch on money a few times, because the industry that has done this the most, when it's taking a tool that's already there and just flipping it around and changing it and making it look like new, the financial industry, the fintech. We're seeing fintech all the time do this kind of stuff. Third area, set goals and metrics. And this is what I talked about before. A lot of us entrepreneurs, small business owners, we're doing this stuff already, right? But we're not actually measuring the success clearly. We're not formally measuring it. We're saying, hey, did I make some money? No, I didn't make no money, so it didn't work. That's how we look at it, right? Which is understandable, but that's limited. It's very limited. I hate to say that. I know especially for the small business owners out there, you thinking like, man, I need them paychecks. I need to pay my team. I need to pay this rent, this mortgage. Making the money, that's what I should, say what an actual goal is. So that's how I should measure success. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. What does success look like to you? Heard this brought up multiple times in different meetings over the years. And it's so crazy when clients, whether I'm asking it or working at jobs and partners were asking it, or working with teammates, and I hear one of my teammates ask this, what does success look like? First, you need to define that for yourself. And I know that's, of course, well, yeah, we're talking about your MVP, but follow me for a second. First, ask yourself, what does success look like for your MVP? What does success look like? Also, what does success look like to that target audience? See, you're building it to solve a problem for them, right? What if, and I hate to say this, but it has happened before. What if solving that problem creates more problem? What if solving that problem actually, or using your solution to solve that problem creates more problem? What does success look like to you and your MVP? That's the first one. What does success look like to them, to the customer, to the audience, to the person who needs it to solve the problem? Define a clear goal. What is the clear goal for us to say, hey, boom, we're ready to launch. Boom. It's MVP. It's in the marketplace. Now we can go to the next stage. Is it the number of people to test it? Is it the number of people to make initial purchases? If it's, if you're still selling it, is it a number of people who sign up for the freemium? Maybe it's freeware. Maybe it's a free offer. And it's based on how many people sign up for that initial free testing or free purchase, if you will. This is the product, we're going to sell it, but we want to get enough people to sign up and say they'll use it for free and give us the feedback. How much feedback do you need to say we're ready to go forward? So if it's a digital product, you might track user engagement. On the physical side, you track the customer feedback, how many repeat purchases if you did sell it. It's about learning. Remember, it's not necessarily about cold, hard sales. It's about learning and understanding and what's valuable to the marketplace to get those valuable insights to you. So what does success look like? Which goes to the fourth. Creating a simple prototype. Because now you know, okay, this is what we need to be successful. We know who we're targeting. We know what the solution or what we think the solution is, right? Let's build out a prototype for this. I brought up Figma. It's a very good tool. There's also Adobe XD, a little more pricey. We'll call that out. Adobe Experience Design it's a really good design platform. And the cool part about, when it comes to an MVP, and I brought that up with Dropbox. Don't get me wrong, we're a little bit more, not necessarily advanced now, but we've seen so much. So it might not just be a video, but it may be a video, depending upon and that's why I said the tactics are going to stay the same. It's the actual application that may be different. Maybe you can get away with just a PowerPoint, a video. I've said this before, and I can't tell you enough, man. It's amazing how many people don't just make tutorials. And I know that sounds crazy because you're thinking, well, I see webinars, I see presentations, I see sales calls. A video tutorial on YouTube could save you a lot of headaches. And I'll tell you, not the customers, but the businesses that are winning with the customers on Amazon, a lot of them are doing that. They'll put their tutorial. They'll have their tutorial. Yeah, it's a link right there, or they can click the video in Amazon. But then they also have it in the packaging. That QR code will take you to YouTube. You don't have to download YouTube. No one has to download YouTube. It's a website. You might use the app on your phone or your tablet, but you don't have to. You can go to the website. You've reduced a barrier of entry for people. You made it even easier. With Figma, you can share the Figma link, and they don't have to have Figma. They could just open it up. If you create it in a PDF, maybe you use one of my favorite tools, Canva or Miro. I love Canva, use Miro quite often as well. You can share those links with people, and they don't have to have those applications. The key is that prototype, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to sound like, what it's going to do. This lets people know I've taken the time to put money into this idea. I've taken the time to put time and investment to get this idea to something you can feel, something you can see, something you can touch. I know what you're thinking, like, Aaron, it's digital. How am I going to touch it? Right? I would hope you would ask that. Because that means you're really hanging on to what I'm saying here. And I'm hoping you are asking that. But when I brought up the census earlier, I brought up a term, seeing is believing. Not a painting, not a drawing. People are seeing, oh, you have a flow of what this is going to look like. You have a video telling me exactly what I'm going to be using. This is how we designed it. This is how we developed it. This is what the interface will look like. Here's some pictures and examples. You put time into it. Now, I would tell you right now, my favorite tool to use for this, right? The one that people are more accustomed. Once again, I brought up YouTube. I would say a combination. If you were using them, a combination would be definitely your or at least my go-to combination. This is a great example. And this could be with any idea. Go-to combination would be a combination of Canva, PowerPoint, and YouTube. Widely used tools. Many of them are easy to use, but the best part about it, once again, low barrier of entry. So if you're taking this to investors and potential customers, 99.9% of the time, everybody has used at least one of these tools for some form of business, right? So they're a little bit more comfortable. And if you ever need experts or people who have not only extensive experience in developing them, but people who have actually built their own MVPs, you can always find great people at Fiverr. I've worked with a few freelancers and contractors from Fiverr to develop prototypes for clients, to develop, mock-ups for clients, some great teams there. And it's getting a lot better when it comes to, vetting people out and identifying who are the best or who knows what the tools they're using. So there's a link to Fiverr and utilizing Fiverr platforms and the people who, can work on different prototypes, different wireframes, whatever it may be. There's a link in the description of this episode. Because remember, once again, this is minimum viable product, right? The idea is to get it out there as soon as possible and keep your costs low. So next up, goes back to development options, or at least we'll take it to the next level of development options. Now, I would always suggest a website. Once again, it's another great way of showing off the prototype, but also showing is believing. Listen, can't beat it. Having your own website. You could take this just from the prototype standpoint. You can make this the entire company website at some point, right? Do what Airbnb did. If it's something physical, you may want to do maybe some 3D modeling. You may want to actually have a physical and work with a product design team, or maybe you guys have that skill set, which would be great. But remember, you're trying to share this out with a decent, size target audience. You want a place where they can find it. Now, I would not knock, of course, having a YouTube in this case, but that YouTube linking back to your website where you can secure those signups, can't beat that. Where you can make sure the orders are getting out there and you're shipping them and you're controlling the order, and then you can remarket and target people in the future because now you have their information and they've opted into your email marketing. You can do that from your own website. Low cost development options. I would suggest Webflow. Wix is another good option for your website in this case. Great option for your case. If you're doing e-commerce, maybe Shopify. But really, we're looking at, getting something scrappy and out there as soon as possible. So once again, I would say Webflow or Wix in this case when it comes to a website. Launch with one single channel. Now, this is to make it very, to pinpoint it, right? One line of communication. You don't need to be everywhere to start off. This is MVP. So focus on one marketing channel, one sales channel to stay directly connected. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people going to want to be all over the place. But I actually taking this from TikTok. TikTok used TikTok. They initially used TikTok, but you know what they also used? They use Instagram. For those who don't know, they use Instagram. That's why, if you notice on Instagram, it's first off from the TikTok interface, it's so easy to share out to other platforms, but it always ends with what? Their TikTok signature. It's an incredibly, if for lack of a better term, it's a growth hack. I don't want to throw a bunch of new terms at you if you've never, experienced any of them, but it's a growth hack. It's a growth hack. Basically, it's a way to, it might, once again, going back to, it may be something that's already possible, already maybe even been done before, but no one used it specifically for this, right? So, well, yeah, we see watermarks all the time on, free software, freemium, right? We see it everywhere. If we use a trial version of something, we have a watermark on it, right? Whatever we produce. What about just kind of making that watermark the signature? But it's not just our signature, it's your signature too. See, that way it feels a little different. You notice that the TikTok at the end of it, or even during the TikTok and at the end of the TikTok, it has the person's user, has a person's a tag, but it also has the TikTok logo. It's incredibly ingenious. It's very simple, but it's incredibly ingenious. So what TikTok did was they used Instagram. All the influencers were there. So, okay, let's make it that it's so easy to use the TikTok, platform and make your TikToks, make whatever content you want to do. You could share it to YouTube. But when you share it to YouTube, it not only has our logo and, of course, your username. So you don't feel like it's infringing on you. It has your username. And at the end, it has our logo again, and it has your username. And if you click on it, you can actually go right back to TikTok. It's incredibly ingenious, right? They use the marketing channel of Instagram. Now, don't get me wrong. More money came in, and more as they grew, they started using different channels, advertising, everything like that. But they focus on that. Influencers are here. Let's get the influencers to our platform, because then everyone else will kind of come to our platform. If they're enjoying it, they should. The other users will enjoy it. Same thing here. What is that platform where you can reach that audience the easiest? Maybe it is, like I said, maybe it is a Shopify store, but that's not necessarily going to give you a marketing channel, right? That's a marketplace. That's actually more of an e-commerce website specifically, not even in the marketplace. Maybe Etsy is the marketplace you need to be. eBay is the marketplace you need to be. Amazon might be the place you need to be, right? Gumroad, other marketplaces, that one channel where you can potentially run ads, you could do premium, you can scale up, but you can start off low. Etsy, 20 cents a listing if it's a physical product, just to get them out there, get them in the channel. You can even run ads on Etsy. Same thing with eBay. Same thing with Gunrope. See, the idea is to start small and develop. So find that one channel, because you know that target audience, you know where they are, you know where they want to consume the products that you're going to be creating, that you're going to be providing those solutions for problems. So you know where you need to be. But focus on one. And when I say focus, I mean it's zero focus. It's like, oh yeah, that's great what's going on. We're on Etsy. Yeah, but that's great what's going on Amazon. That's fine. That's nice. eBay, that's cool. I've heard of them too. But right now we're here. Seriously. Because this is what hurts a lot of MVPs from the beginning, or when people are developing something similar to an MVP. Oh, we got to be on LinkedIn. We got to be on Facebook. We got to be on Pinterest. We got to be. Wait a minute. You're just starting out. Where do you need to be? What is the priority? If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. What is the priority? Because also that's showing that you're prioritizing those customers, that target audience. You're building a really good relationship with them from the very beginning. So launch on one single channel. Number 7, lean testing and iteration. Okay, the whole idea of the MVP is that it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just getting it out there. You're getting it to a point to where it can be out there, you can get the feedback you want, and you're confident that you gave it, hey, this is the best we can get out right now. But it's not perfect. For a fact, go into it with the mindset, it's going to be change. It's going to be iterations. There's going to be development to this. See, when people want everything to be, I want to be perfect. That's literally against the MVP. Because a lot of people think MVP when they think, of course, most valuable player, right? And that's the person who had the highest stats, had all this stuff. And that's why I actually don't necessarily care for that award necessarily in sports even. Because if you look at it from a stat level, well, yeah, okay. But is that necessarily the player what about the one who's given all the assists to make sure he or she scored all the goals or the touchdowns, right? There's other aspects to be valuable, right? But this is not the most valuable player or the most valuable product. This is the minimum viable product. If you go into it with the concept of looking at it from a most valuable player, then yeah, you're going to wait forever and you're going to spend a lot more money. Here's the worst part. And I've seen this working with a channel on YouTube. It really, I hate to say it's kind of a sad story, if you will. It's sad just because the person got so upset. They spent so much time developing their channel. The logos, the videos, the editing, the camera, the bull. And then I'm going to be real honest with you. That first video did shoo. Second video did even worse than shoo. Third video just and they weren't even a fourth video because it just kept getting worse than that. And yes, I'm making all these damn sound effects. I don't need no damn sound effect license. But what happened was the person got completely discouraged and didn't even think about going back to YouTube for like over a year. Start up a new business, but they wanted to go back onto YouTube. I showed them some stuff that I did with another YouTube channel, just the optimization stuff from an aesthetics standpoint, from a little keyword research standpoint, definitely from, developing the openings, intro, stuff like that. And I hate to say it, they wanted to go right back down that same road. Okay, we got to make sure we have lighting and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yes, didn't you do all that already? Based on knowing their story, knowing my customer, knowing my audience, didn't you do all that already? Yeah, but nothing. That's the problem. What are you going to talk about? What's your show going to be about? And they were able to give me this in seconds, which was awesome. Great. Turn on the recorder. What are you going to talk about? What are you going to do? Tell me. And we just had a conversation. Play back that conversation. I said, this is your channel. Let's do it right now. Let's just get it in right now. I'll make a couple thumbnails and let's just get it in. The idea was, let's just get it out there. Get people's experience. Get people's feedback. Don't wait for perfect because it ain't going to happen. Lean testing, iteration, right off the bat. Get it out there. Get it decided. Get that feedback. Person sells their channel. Doing okay. but that happens to us. And as creatives, this happens to you. You want to get everything right. And then it all falls flat. And you're like, man, and that actually will hurt you more than help you. That will hurt you a lot more than help you. I'm not saying go out there half-ass. No, I'm saying go out there as best you can, but in a timely manner. Hey, I want to sing R&B. I want a channel where I talk about R&B music. I'm using it off the dome because frankly, I've done a lot of work with musicians. Okay. So, and a lot of creatives, this is where you guys are. This is where you guys are right now. Well, okay, talk about R&B music. Well, yeah, but now I need to do the research and all this. Yes, you do need to do research. Yeah, if you're going to talk about the history of R&B music and everything, or R&B artists, yes, you need to do research. You can do research as you go. You do know you can go back to a YouTube channel and say, hey, you know what, guys? Or I'm sorry, one of your videos and say, hey, you know what, guys? I got to make a few corrections. A lot of people don't want to do that. Oh my God, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. In fact, the 3 channels that I mentioned before, the video SAS, they do that kind of stuff. If they make a mistake somewhere, they'll call it out either in a future video, in the previous video, or I'm sorry, the next video, or they'll go back and edit that video, or they'll put it at least in the comments or something. They've done that. That says a lot to an audience. Like, hey, I care about what I'm doing. That means I care about my audience. Keep that in mind. Number 8, leverage free low-cost tools. I brought this up. First off, Wix, Webflow, not very expensive web platforms just to get started. Remember, this is MVP. I'm going to keep bringing that up. This is MVP. But what people tend to skip, remember I'm talking about, this is about getting insights, testing, measuring, identifying what works or what doesn't work. Google Analytics is still free. Get it while it's free. Use it while it's free. I'm telling you, at some point, y'all gonna be shocked. I'm gonna keep calling this out. All these free platforms that have been free for years, that is gonna change. I guarantee it. Not all of them, but a lot of them. It's gonna change in the next 5 years. You utilize these things while they're still free. Google Analytics, Google Search Console, MailChimp is very affordable. It's my favorite email marketing tool. It's really flexible to use with different platforms. And the cool part is you can run surveys from it. You can run forms from it. You can even collect payments in it, right? On even some of the low cost plans. And you can do a really good email marketing campaign even for free. Love MailChimp. The whole team here, certified, we're working with MailChimp. So that's because it's just our favorite platform. Now, there's other email marketing platforms, but you want to get email marketing going. That's why I say you should have your own website. No matter if you're going through another marketplace, you need to have your own website because you can't remarket to those people, right? You can't get a newsletter going to those people from that communication, from Etsy, from eBay, from Amazon. You got to pay for those things if they're going to let you do things like that. So you need to have your own website. And of course, this is where you can put your tutorials and your videos and your prototypes and things of that nature. Also, Google Forms. Google Forms is actually really good and flexible, integrates with a lot of tools. It's free, but you need to leverage as many low-cost tools as possible. This is MVP. Like I said, a lot of us are doing this stuff already as entrepreneurs and small business owners. We just don't look at it as an MVP. But if we put a plan together, okay, these are the tools I'm going to leverage, and this is what I want to get from those tools. Or from the email marketing, I want to get a certain number of subscribers, right? I want to get that number of subscribers so I can remarket and retarget and recommunicate to those people. From the Google Analytics standpoint, I want to measure exactly where people are falling off and getting on my website. I need to know those things. Where are people accessing it? I have done this at least 10 times. I can immediately pinpoint where a customer told me all my customers are coming from this state or this country, and they were completely off. I remember one client, he had a supplemental brand. Hilarious. He's thinking, hey, everybody's in my home state. Everybody's in my home state. We look at the numbers, we look at the dashboard, and it's like, okay, your home state's Illinois, but the majority of your orders and your contacts and your email subscribers are coming from Florida and Georgia. Then he goes back and he looks at the orders. He's like, yeah, but the orders are coming from Illinois. New people in Illinois, shipping cost was less. Having friends pick up the products for them happens all the time. I've met people where they say, well, no, my spouse, they live in another state. It's cheaper for things to be shipped to them there, or it's cheaper, or they don't even get charged for retail tax. That's a big one, taxes, right? So they will have products shipped to that spouse, and the spouse will bring everything home when they come home for the weekend or when they come home for a few days, especially before people were working remote, right? When people had to, okay, I have to be here for my job. It's a good job. My family's in another state. How many people had this situation? Not even just, people still have this situation, but especially 10 years ago. Working remotely wasn't as widespread. I mean, we see how it's being trying to be taken away completely by now by some people. But but it was still, a big thing for saying, hey, it's easier for me to order it here. And just when I come home, I'm just bringing all the stuff home with me. Happens all the time. You need to know where those customers are and where they're purchasing. Number 9, ensure scalability. I keep saying, and then you can rev up, and then you can level up, and then you can bring it up, and then you can put more money to it. That's what you're measuring. You're measuring, hey, is my product ready to take it to the next level? Maybe I can increase production, bring on team members, take it from the free plans to the premium plans. No shame in my game. I'm going to call it out. Hey, and I know for you guys who don't want to say it, that's on you. But hey, for us as entrepreneurs who are out here trying to get it, we know what we do. We run with free plans as long as we can until we don't have to be on a free plan anymore. Do you know how many businesses right now are making hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars and still on free plans with some software? Because they I don't need to get to the next level. But this is why in the very beginning, we want to understand who that target audience is, because this will tell us what type of software we need to be using or what type of platforms we need to be using. And we can start budgeting. Hey, you know what? When we reach 10,000 customers, we're going to need to have a premium plan. Now we can budget for it. Ensure scalability. Is your solution going to help you grow to where you can afford to keep growing? Is this something that can grow to where you say, hey, if I get 10,000 customers, can I make enough to support 10,000 customers? See, people give you these crazy numbers. I want to make 1 million, I want to have 1 million customers. I want to make $1 million. Why? And I have no problem asking that. Somebody says, if I want to make, $10 million a year, why? If you have a problem with me asking you why, then that really showcased to me another problem. There's a serious problem. If I tell you something I want, you ask me why, I can give you the why. So if you want this product to be where you have hundreds of thousands of millions of customers, why? Maybe this solution is only good for maybe 1,000 people, maybe 500 or 1,000 people. Why does it have to be 10,000 customers? Do you have a pool? Or better yet, is it affordable for you to support 10,000 customers? This is the kind of stuff you figure out from the very beginning when you know the target audience. Ensuring scalability. Can I scale up with this? Here's a big one. Can I afford to scale down if I have to? Because when you scale down, okay, do you have to fire people? Or is this something you can sustain with a very small team, whether you have 10,000 customers, 1,000 customers, 100 customers? Right? Very, very important to get that out of the way and get that clarified for everybody. And finally, focus on the user experience. Now, I put this last, even though it kind of connects with a few other things when we talk about the prototypes and stuff like this. But this is where you can get stuck into the paralysis by analysis mindset, right? So you focus so much on user experience. You're like, oh, I can't release anything until it's perfect. Every button works the right way. No, we want to ensure that the most important aspects are working. We get it out into the marketplace. We get it out in front of people. We get their feedback and we work as we improve as we go, right? This, as some people use the term build it as we fly, which I'm sorry, that's just, that one I never got with, because I'm thinking you building a plane as you fly. Okay. All right. I'm going to watch the news in a minute because we know it's about that. I'm sorry. I think like that. So I'm really might went into a little dark place, but that I never liked that term, build it as we fly. This is more so, like taste testing as you bake. This is really what it is, right? You don't want to just harp on this in the very beginning though, because this way you can get stuck. You can bottleneck. Let's make sure that it delivers a smooth, intuitive user experience. Buttons on the website, links, whether in the document, it reads very well. Proof that will help you with the proofreading. There's a lot of AI tools that can help you with, like Grammarly can help you with that, making sure it's a good wording, a good flow that people can understand it, writing a script maybe for your tutorial video. Keep it simple. That's the whole point. If you keep it simple from the very beginning, it won't take so much to get this done. It's when you add the additional complexity. That's what people complain. It's funny how a lot of people complain even to this day. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of noise now, but there are people who still complain when I bring up this issue. It's not about this. A lot of people complain about like how Facebook looks. They're like, it has a really old look. It looks old site. That actually makes a lot of sense. They kind of found out what worked with the MVP and just kept going with it. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot more noise because there's a lot of crap there. But the breakdown, the column setup, it's very old school, and it's for good reason. Right? That's easy for them to update. That's easy for them to fix. The issues I have with Facebook are totally different. It has nothing to do with that. I see the logic of what they did there and why they're keeping it that way. And even if that's not necessarily the main reason, I guarantee you it's playing into it, because that means it's really clean and easy for me to update. Not a lot of changes have to be done on the back end. Documentation can be shared with almost any, even junior developer, right? It's not the most complex user interface to deal with, which is why my real problems come up with, then a lot of things should be a lot better. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother conversation. So keep it simple. Keep it very straightforward to where you don't have to go back in and do a lot of rework when it comes to working on the website, retooling the tutorial, redeveloping the prototype, things like that. Keep it very simple. That way, it's easy for you to measure where the success is and where people are falling off if they're having a problem. Because the more complex it is for you to make it, I can almost guarantee the more complex it is for them. All right, when we come back, we're going to close out with some notable alternatives to the minimum viable product. And of course, what to read. All right, now, y'all. So what are some alternatives? There are some alternative ideas out there about the MVP and some variations. One of them being MVE. And I first heard about this concept, and that stands for minimum valuable experience. I heard about this and I was like, that's an interesting way of looking at it, because once again, when I first heard of MVP even from a design standpoint, I always thought the V did stand for valuable when it says for viable, right? What can we get out there at a minimum level, get it into the marketplace, get it in front of people can test it out, give us our feedback. I always focus on the value. I was like, well, how do we know it's valuable though? How do we know people actually want that? And that's where those steps come into place to making something viable. You kind of identify the value in the development of the product itself, right? So it doesn't need to necessarily be in the terminology. But I first heard about MVE from Pete Sina, who is an author on Medium. I bring up Medium all the time. He has a really great article where he breaks down, the initial concept of it, but then also just not only how you can apply it, and he gives you a systematic approach to how you can apply it and develop an MVE for yourself, but also why kind of taking it away from the MVP would serve better for entrepreneurs and startups. And I thought it was a really great concept to look at it, because like I said, not everybody's in the same place. And he even, develops a kind of like a roadmap for you to do it as well. And I thought it was a fantastic acronym he uses as ACT, which is how to kind of the steps and the framework to use before you even get to breaking down and developing the MVE. I thought about how every business is in different stages, and every business is in different areas of what they can do and what they can't do. And maybe you don't have the time to develop the MVP, even though the MVP, once again, is not supposed to take a ton of time. That kind of goes against it. But maybe you want to look at it from a different mindset approach to fit your business. So see if that works for you. If the MVP, and once again, this is not supposed to take you a ton of time, right? You're not supposed to spend the next 5 years developing this, especially if you're already in, kind of development stages of your business. What can you get out there? What can you get out the door? A clean, easy to use, but valuable product in front of that right target audience as soon as possible. If the MVP breakdown doesn't work, maybe the MVE. The other is, and this one I also discovered on Medium, but I had heard of one of the concepts before. Hadn't heard of both of them, but I heard of one of them. And the idea was that, is the MVP dead? And that's what really stood out to me because, like I said, a lot of people from the startup VC world, tech world have been saying maybe the idea of the MVP is going away. That minimum viable product, maybe that's going away. Should we change up what the MVP stands for or change up entirely? And that's kind of how I fell into the MVE. I know, right? These acronyms, acronym crazy, right? Maybe the MVE comes up, but then Raphael did a great job in this article on Medium of some alternatives to look at. So instead of the minimum viable product and he wrote a great article just kind of breaking that down in the startup, which is either the minimum awesome product or a minimum lovable product. Now I've heard of the minimum awesome product before. Basically kind of thing that kind of wows people, kind of just, not only captures your attention, but it takes something, kind of going to what I talked about before. An idea is that a product that it's maybe something that's already there, but you just take it to another level. And that is the MAP, right? But that minimum lovable product, the ones that people fall in love with, the ones people are so impressed with, the people just, they're just diehards for. That one was the one that caught my attention that I'd never seen before. And the examples he gave some really awesome examples, with everything from Photoshop Express, which is, or Adobe Express, Adobe Lightroom, Robinhood, Tilt, some really interesting examples. So I would definitely say check out these two articles. Let me know what you think. I would love to know, what do you decide? So drop a comment. Like after you listen to this episode, kind of go over our framework with the MVP, and that's the MVP framework in general, right? But then look at the MVE in the MAP, MLP, right, from the two articles. Real simple, quick reads. I mean, literally each article is about 2 to 3 minutes, so wouldn't take you long to read and review them. The cool thing about Medium, this is another great thing I love about Medium, is that every article you can have the audio play. Right. So you can treat it like an audiobook as well. I absolutely love Medium. I always bring it up. Like I said, I've written on Medium for some years now. I actually did a couple chapters of my first ebook that I released. I did them as articles to break them down there and then started collecting them, which is a great way to find your MVP. It's actually, I just thought about that. It's actually, whoa. I just blew my own mind, right? That's actually an MVP for an ebook. And that's the whole point. It's like, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be, oh, you have to do this. You have to have, work with Figma, or you have to use Miro, or you have to use that platform or the other. It's what works best for, getting the idea out there and getting into the channel and seeing if it works. And I sold some decent copies of the ebook. Yay. So check out those articles. Let me know what you think. That's what to read from the standpoint of, the alternatives. Now let's get into the what to read regular segment where we go over different books. And these are books not only about design, but actually getting out to the marketplace. Okay, y'all. So I keep suggesting this book. It is, I promise you, Somebody even asked the comment, am I getting paid by the author? No, I'm not. I'm actually, let me say that. Let me take that back. I am technically getting paid by the author. You know why? Because I use this to launch a product, to launch a business. Well, not a whole business. It was just a product and a service, and it did very well. So yes, that's how I pay back. And that's what I want from a book. I want a book to give me something that I can implement, whether it's for a business, whether it's personal life, whether it's from a family, career, doesn't matter. Just to help me with critical thinking. Those are the books that I prefer and I enjoy the most. The ones that get me thinking is something I can apply. Even when it comes to fantasy, if it comes to sci-fi, something I can apply to thinking a little differently, apply to interacting with people differently and learning from people differently and listening to people better. If it ain't stimulating your brain in one way or another, helping you move differently, it ain't working, if you ask me. It's just getting you thinking, but you're not doing. Not for me. I need to do something. Even if it's the way I make my cup of coffee. And I have a great book about that, how to make a great cup of coffee. So, Launch by Jeff Walker. I keep suggesting this book. For this episode, it not only fits from the MVP standpoint, the overall business standpoint, right? Scalability, target audience, when to launch, how to launch. perfect book. I'm not going to go too much in depth about it because I brought it up multiple times. But this book, it will literally, coming back to it, I would say this: if you purchase this book and you don't, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you don't come back to this book at least once a year, maybe you're launching a new product line, a new office, a new location, working with new team members. If you don't come back to it once a year, then I don't think it had the impact on you. And that's okay. Everyone's different. But this book is the kind of book you can come back to every so often and be like, yep, you know what? I can see a way to utilize it for this product line or this service or this location or this new business or this opportunity. You can apply it to so many things. And it doesn't necessarily need to be just business. Applying it to things that you just want to do as a hobby. But you want to get a good, you want to get feedback. You want to get a crowd going. You want to get a network around it, a meetup, a party. There's so many ways to apply it. That's what I'm saying. You can come back to it very often and it can be utilized in so many different ways. The next one, though, different book. I haven't suggested this one before. Excuse me. The Design Playbook. Okay. By Michael Lewick. And I did not know about this book until reading a few more articles about product design, and this one kind of fell into the lap because it's part of a series, if you will, and it was referenced, I want to say, at least 10 times. I'm like, dude, if it's being referenced that many times by completely different authors in different articles and different blogs about product design, but it was referenced quite a few times. I'm like, dude, this has got to be at least something worth reviewing and checking out, to where they're saying the concepts that they were applying, or just to help you with design thinking. Fantastic book. If you're creating something that's a lot more in depth, if you're doing something like, software as a service, or, you're creating an entire product line online, like a tech business, I would highly suggest checking out this book, especially when you're working with teams. See, a lot of people forget about, they focus so much on the work, they forget about the human aspect of things and the human aspect of the design. That's why I say focus on that target audience first and foremost, because that's the key point of the human aspect, not just the workers, not just the team members, but the audience and then the team members, because it's all human. That's at the end of the day. We're trying to solve human problems. There's feelings attached to this. There's emotions attached to this. There's relationships attached to this. There are people involved. Great book to help you just look at the entire picture. The Design Thinking Playbook by Michael Lewick, Patrick Link, and Larry Lafer. And I've always looked at things from a human perspective, in the interpersonal, having better interpersonal skills. I always felt that was an area to work on, an area I always wanted to work on more. Hey, I'm a natural introvert. It's easy. It's easy to have that as a challenge. Know thyself, right? And when you hear people who have, accomplished what these gentlemen have accomplished and what they've produced, talk about the same thing, and also how you need to ensure that it's in your design too. Are you focusing on the people and the teams? Don't get me wrong, it looks at the entire design process. I'm not saying it, but that's one of the key areas to pick out, and I think will help you a great deal when you think about developing the teams. Hey, if you're going to have a new location, you're going to have a business, you're going to have team members. Like I told you, I brought this up before. I don't look at employees. I'd say team members. Right? We have a goal we're trying to accomplish together. If you want to say employees, that's fine. That's up to you, your prerogative, your culture. But think about that culture. When you're designing something, think about that culture. Are people as invested in you? Are you conveying the value? Maybe that minimum valuable experience is the way you should look at things, because you want to keep that value at the top of mind, right? Great book to help you with that. Then finally, I got 3 for you. Because once again, this can be applied to so many different things, whether you're new location, you're starting a business from scratch, you are getting involved in a franchise, doesn't matter. 0 to 1. Now, I brought this book up before when I talked about digital products. And I talked about, we had an episode in pursuing capital and raising capital. The author has been a part of literally some of the biggest corporations to be started in the last 25 years. Hands down, no question. And worked with some of the most innovative leaders. So when you pull insights from a person who's experienced it, and they're looking at it from developing something from the most basic, once again, minimum level that can make a huge impact, That's the kind of book you want to read when you're creating that MVP. And 0 to 1 is that book. So with that, What to Read: Launch by Jeff Walker, The Design Playbook by Michael Lurick, Patrick Link, Larry Lafer, and 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. With that, I owe you some things. Think, hey, I know what to read. I'm giving you work. If you want to look at it like that, I'm giving you work. But this is the work you already want, right? You want to create a product, you want to create a service, you want to create a business. If you can't put the time into an MVP, you think you got the time to put into a long-term business? It's like a business plan. Like people say, oh, I don't have time to write a business plan. You don't have time to spend at least just a week. Great business plans can be written in a week. You don't have to go to business school for that. That comes to knowing your business and putting the time and effort and energy to it. If you're not going to invest it in yourself, how dare you ask anyone to invest anything into you? Okay. So if you have the time to make the MVP, to read a book on how to apply, make that MVP better and how to launch. I mean, hell, Jeff Walker's book is literally about how to get the most out of whatever you make. In other words, getting a return on your investment, getting profit, making money. If you have a time to read a book on how to make a plan to get that done, you have time to run a business. Let's just keep it a beat. What are your freebies? You're like, damn, Aaron, okay. If you're looking like, dude, you're kind of harsh. Not harsh. Tough love. Tough love. I love you. I love you. I really do. I've given a couple tools that can help you with, your planning, your strategizing, your creating your prototype, things like that. I'm not going to just leave you off in the wind like that. Here's actual links. All of these links, one immediate call out. All of these links are non-affiliate links. Okay. Just to call that out. So you using a link, not using a link, if you can support the show, that's great. But these are just to support you, to get you going. Okay. Canva, number one, get that going. Jump on Canva. You have everything from a whiteboard. You have everything from, making a presentation. One of my favorite tools on Canva is the talking presentation tool. If you haven't used that, check that out. It's a great tool. It really helps you with your speech, really helps you with your pitching, really helps you with everything. It's a great way to test amongst your team members. You know what? And in fact, drop a comment, because I've just finished doing this. I actually finished walking someone through how to make a talking presentation. Drop a comment. Let me know if you want us to make a video for a talking presentation and how to make a talking presentation. I would love to, I love that feature. That's one of my favorite features. I think that's the feature I've used the most besides, honestly, I just thought about that. I think that's the feature I've used the most besides the whiteboard feature. So let me know if you want us to make a video on how to make a talking presentation, and we can make a talking presentation. We'll do that. We'll either go live doing it, or we'll just make a video about how to make one. But Canva, it's a link to Canva. It's a link to Miro. I brought a Miro. Miro's awesome. Miro is really awesome. I discovered Miro working with one of my last contract positions. And I'm telling you, what these guys were doing in Miro was freaking insane. It was awesome. You can do amazing work working with a client, but really amongst your team. And I always look for a tool that it's really easy to integrate other tools in. I will say the integrations are not all there for Miro. There's a lot more they need to add, but at least the ones that are there are really good ones to get you started, and other tools you can integrate into them to where it's a one-stop shop. All your information is there. You don't need to go all over the place and look for things. You know what I mean? That's one of the challenges working with a team, especially if you're working with a remote team. It's really tough, to get everybody on the same page. And Miro's a great way to kind of get everybody into one spot. Great integrations with other tools. Like I said, there's a few lacking there. I really would like to see more. They have a lot of stuff they said that's coming out over the next few months. And I'm looking forward to see what they develop. So there's a link to Miro as well. Asana, my all-time favorite project management tool. Sorry, I don't know why other project management tools are not this easy to use. It's so easy to use Asana for project management. It is absolutely insane. One of the problems with most project management tools is, for whatever reason, they feel it has to be this complex way to make all these different charts. And this is one of the best. And I say this is one of the best because the same thing I brought about Miro, integrations. I'm all about integrations. I'm all about, can I connect this with other tools so I can make this one-stop shop for everybody? You can connect the two. You can connect your Miro, you can connect your Asana, you can connect your Canva. It's absolutely beautiful. So, and it's really easy to use. Another great aspect of Asana is that you don't have to you can use the desktop version, you can use the mobile version. There isn't a drop off. And I hate to say that, but a lot of software, even to this day, You can see the big difference when you look at the desktop from the mobile to the actual app, right? So if you go to the website or you download it on your desktop or you're using the app on your mobile device, you don't see a lag in different access to features. I hate that when it comes to platforms. With Asana, I've yet to have that problem. Envato is by far the best marketplace for assets. So stock images, stock video, templates, graphic templates, even themes, right? And it has connections to a lot of other marketplaces. So you can get one license for your team. You can get one license for yourself as an individual. You can go there and you can, purchase one-off products and tools that you need to build out your prototype. So whether you need graphics or you need buttons or you need templates for logos, whatever the assets you need, that's a great marketplace. It's my favorite marketplace for assets still to this day, especially when it comes to assets for building out an application or a website. And finally, LivePlan. LivePlan is a great business planning tool. This is the problem with business plans that we see the most, is that fact that somebody says, hey, I spent a week making a document and some of the information is outdated. LivePlan is an easy go in there and it actually is working for you in real time, right? It's a live business plan as opposed to just making this document that's static and that you constantly have to go in there and manually update on a lot of occasions. This way you can connect it to different, you can connect it to your financial statements. You can connect it to other tools. This way you can make that 3-year business plan and every year you can see the progression, and you don't have to go in there manually and change a lot of things. Of course, if there's things changing in your business, add on pages, add on new documents, add on new, a board of directors. You want to see that growth, but you can also see what has worked and what hasn't worked, what you're measuring, your projections. And this is great for when you're building out those marketing plans, those financial statements, those types of things. Once again, financial statements going back into your taxes, right? You can also see what you're projecting when you're having those conversations with your investors as well, or potential investors. So those are links to some of the tools that I use. These are not tools that I'm just suggesting because, like I said, affiliates or anything like that. One, they're not affiliate links. And two, these are tools that I use. Okay, literally. I'm living in Canva. I'm living in Asana. I'm living in Envato. I'm living in, especially LivePlan, because LivePlan, I actually developed my first 2 business plans with LivePlan. Right? The first business plan I ever took to somebody was with LivePlan. So, tell you right now, these are great tools for all aspects of your business. If you use other tools, Envato has great assets to work with those other tools. So if you're looking for themes, if you're looking for templates for Figma, for Canva, things like that, Canva, you can develop all your assets as you need them and keep it going, and you can collaborate. You can collaborate, share them out to Miro, and you guys can have a discussion in that whiteboard. And then, of course, you keep track of everything in Asana. You see how I all put it together for you? I put it together for you. I'm your project manager. You didn't even know it. Or in this case, I guess, product manager, right? Anywho, so MVP on a budget. That's what we went over today. Look at that framework. Let me know what works for you. And of course, like I said, drop a comment if you want us to go into exactly how to use the talking presentation. Maybe the talking presentation you will be utilizing for a pitch or for your tutorial, for your pitch or your tutorial for your MVP and working with your target audience. Let me know if you want to see us do that, make a video for you. Like I said, we can either go live or we can do a video. I think it'd be cool to do that live, though. That would be a cool live one. That'd be a really nice live one. And then we release it and we see how it goes. And we can all get your feedback, guys. I mean, that's the whole point, MVP, right? And then, of course, let me know drop in a comment. Let me know which framework works for you. You're like, hey, Aaron, MVP is awesome, but I like what they're doing with the MVE. Or MAP or the MLP works better for me. You have links to those articles and which one works best for you. With that, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of The Ambition Show. I've been your host, Aaron Muhammad. I look forward to seeing your comments. We'll check out those comments and we'll see which ones, we get for the videos and which ones we will do probably around sometime in season 3. Thank you so much, guys, for checking us out. Look at the other episodes. Best to you and yours. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and share it out with other entrepreneurs and small business owners that are out there. Peace.